Coming in number 10 today, we have Megan Fox. Back in 2009, Transformers star Megan Fox would be branded as dumb, ungracious, rude, and an unbearable actress by crew members of the multi-million-dollar film franchise. As soon as the actor came out to diss the director, Michael Bay, by claiming that he objectified her on the set, the furious crew members who have stayed anonymous would post a long open letter to Megan on the director's official website and signed it as the loyal Transformers crew. In it, they tore into Megan as they labeled her as a second-rate Angelina Jolie who was disliked across the set by her diva-like behavior. The letter has since been removed from the site, but not before thousands of fans saw it. In the letter, the crew would claim that Michael made Megan the next Angelina Jolie, but as time went on, the crew noticed that she was no Angelina because Angelina was professional and Megan was as dumb as a rock in both Transformers movies. The crew also went on to call her the grump of the set and claim that she was the most ungracious person anyone could ever fathom. While the crew tried to welcome her, she just became really rude and later twisted the story when she was fired from the set for her poor behavior. Coming at number 9, we have Tom Cruise. Since 2019, film sets have had some pretty strict guidelines to protect everyone working on the set, and while many people were stuck inside, the entertainment industry was the only thing keeping people's hopes and spirits alive. So it was pretty understandable when Tom Cruise caught members of the Mission Impossible 7 set messing around. He expressed his frustrations, but the way he chose to do it was a little out there and really improper. As first reported by The Sun, after Cruise saw two of the members standing too close to one another in front of a computer screen, he told the crew, "If I see you do it again, you're effing gone." In the audio obtained by The Sun, Cruise could be heard saying, "We are the gold standard. They're back there in Hollywood making movies right now because of us, because they believe in us and what we're doing. I'm on the phone with every effing studio at night, insurance companies, producers, and they're looking at us and using us to make their movies. We are creating thousands of jobs, you mother effers. I don't ever want to see it again, ever." Cruise took the 2019 situation seriously, and that's why he was so strict about enforcing the guidelines on set and scowled the crew for taking advantage of the safe environment that the team in place helped create. Number 8, Lea Michele. It seems like Lea Michele was such a complete diva on the set of Glee that she had zero respect when it came to her cast and crew members. The actor who has been at the center of racism after she was called out by former co-star Samantha Ware on Twitter, Ima Edwards, who was featured in the 6th season on the series, then come out to say that she heard from multiple people that Lea called extras cockroaches behind the scenes. While Lea went on to treat many of her co-stars and crew members poorly, they would even describe working with Lea was like working in their own personal hell, and it really made them question their jobs in the entertainment industry. It's also been said that Michelle even treated the crew members poorly, as she would micromanage the set and tell people how to do their jobs, and she would even throw tantrums and hold sets up for hours, forcing crew and co-stars to work long-hour days. Number 7, Christian Bale. During the production of the 2009 sequel Terminator Salvation film, lead actor Christian Bale would be caught on tape having a meltdown. Just a few months after the film debuted, the audio recording would surface, and it was clear that it was made without the actor's knowledge, as he was shocked to know he was exposed by an unnamed person on the set. In the audio, Christian could be heard going off on the film's cinematographer Shane Hurlbut, who had walked onto the scene to check a light during the filming of a scene. This apparently was the second time that he had done it, and Bale became incensed, hitting Shane with a handful of F-bombs as he threatened to smash his lighting equipment if he did it one more time. What made matters worse is that Christian even threatened to quit the film if Shane committed this offense one more time without being fired. For Shane, on his part, he was very apologetic, but then again, he couldn't get into a shouting match with the film star and not get fired. Christian would then later come out apologizing for the incident, but the two haven't worked on the same project since. Number 6, Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl was at the height of her career when she joined Grey's Anatomy. However, after she decided to leave the show, it seems like the star would find herself blacklisted from sets due to her poor behavior. With cast and crew members back in 2007, Katherine would badmouth her own movie Knocked Up, which would prove that she was really hard to work with. However, it wouldn't be until 2008 when Katherine would really burn all her bridges in Hollywood after she was nominated for an Emmy and withdrew her name for consideration because she felt like the Grey's Anatomy season didn't give her enough material to to be nominated. She would then come out to say in a statement that she didn't feel like she was given enough material to warrant an Emmy nomination. In an effort to maintain the integrity of the Academy organization, she was withdrawing her name and the whole world would be shocked. But an Emmy nomination is an Emmy. And if you feel like you aren't given enough material, you still take the nomination, because sometimes these nominations only come around once in your lifetime, and some people never even find themselves being nominated. Since the Grey's Anatomy creator Shonda Rhimes has been greatly offended, and fans have been totally turned off by Katherine's behavior, as Shonda worked really hard for her show and this Emmy nomination was a big deal. Number 5. Thomas Gibson. Actor Thomas Gibson would find himself being fired from the CBS drama Criminal Minds in 2016 after 11 seasons in the wake of an on-set altercation with a producer. ABC Studios and CBS TV Studios would then come out to say in a statement that Thomas was dismissed from Criminal Minds and that his character's exit would be addressed in the show at a later date. With Gibson's character only appearing in 2 episodes that year, the actor was set to never appear in a show again after the studio conducted an internal review of an incident that alleged Thomas kicked a producer on the show, who TMZ identified to be Virgil Williams. It's also been said in the past Thomas has been known to have violent outbursts. This even included one with an assistant director in 2010 who claims Thomas shoved him. This behavior would then result in the studio to send Thomas to anger management classes. However, after the studio realized even the classes weren't working with Thomas's behavior, they decided just to let him go from the show altogether. Number 4. Mike Myers. While The Cat in the Hat was a children's show we all enjoyed watching come to life, apparently Mike Myers made the reality a daily nightmare for the cast and crew members. Amy Hill would then come out to describe how bad it actually was to work with Mike. Not only would Mike be rude to the cast and crew, but he actually would have them sit around all day waiting for him to show up on set. He also made the set hire someone to follow him around while he was in a cat costume and feed him chocolates. Whenever he needed the chocolate, the guy would run over and hand feed the chocolates to him on the set. Well, one can only imagine what it would look like to see a grown man in a costume running around a set being fed chocolates by another human being. I can only imagine what the snack wrangler would put on their resume to describe that very job. Number 3. Christina Aguilera. Sources close to the Voice production team have claimed that Christina Aguilera was nothing but a woman of people, as she was extremely rude to both the crew and the fans on the show. The sources would also say that Christina didn't want anyone to get close to her. If someone went to shake her hand, she would even yell at them not to touch her. While it's not uncommon for celebrities to want their personal space, Christina was just taking things a little too far when she started to freak out and yell at people to get out of her space, but they were only just standing in the same room as her. The crew also went on to note that it was actually pretty unpleasant to work with the diva, as she was really demanding and told everyone they should respect her. While the crew tried to deal with the situation the best they could, Christina just kept continuing to go on and ruin her image with her relentless wicked witch vibe. While the crew didn't want to hate her, they would state out of all the artists they have worked with, she seemed to be the least pleasant and compassionate out of all the bunch, and it was disheartening. Number 2. Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller is one of the few major celebrities that you rarely hear anything good or bad about, but maybe that's because he's secretly just a wonderful man and likes to keep his bad behavior on the down low. However, many people who have claimed Ben Stiller is great to work with, the Inquirer would draw a portrait that wasn't so full of sunshine and rainbows. While Ben was working on the set of The Little Fockers, he definitely got on someone's bad side, as the cast and crew made some pretty disturbing allegations when it came to his behavior. Apparently, when working on the set, Ben would earn the nickname Little Focker, as he alienated most of the cast and crew on the film in his vain, self-absorbed behavior, and when he wasn't obsessing over his looks, he would be throwing temper tantrums and screaming at the underlings. Ben even would go on to fire an assistant director and demanded star treatment for his entourage, personal chefs, hair and makeup minders, and refused to interact with the underlings unless it was to yell at them. His ego has gone off the charts, and he even went off on a female director for a perceived mistake and screamed at the top of his lungs that he never wanted to work with her again before storming off the set. He then refused to come back until she was gone, and the set let her go the next day and brought in a male replacement to appease Ben. And coming in number 1 today, we have Bill Murray. In April, Bill Murray's film would be shut down for an investigation into his alleged inappropriate behavior. That set a dark tone amid a resurfaced on-set stories that kept Hollywood whispering for decades. In 1991, it said that Disney was even forced to hire bodyguards to protect the cast and crew of the 1991's What About Bob film, after the actor hurled a glass ashtray at Richard Dreyfuss and threatened to throw a female producer across a parking lot. Despite his enduring status of being a beloved Hollywood bad boy, Murray has repeatedly been accused of violently clashing with his co-stars, from butt-heading to inexcusable and unacceptable language on numerous sets stretching all the way back to the 1970s. It's even been said after multiple outbursts on the What About Bob set, everyone would walk off production and fly back to LA, and the film only resumed after Disney hired some bodyguards to physically separate Bill from his co-stars and crew members in between takes.
Number 10. Kim's nannies. Kim Kardashian is arguably one of the most famous of the Kardashian sisters, and it would also seem she's the busiest. For example, Kim has 4 kids, a skincare line, her Skims brand, she's attending law school, co-founded an equity team, and even recently hopped on the podcast train. In addition to filming her new reality show on Hulu. You may be asking yourself, how does one woman do all of that by herself? Well, she pays people to do it for her, duh. She has multiple assistants and nannies to help her stay above the overwhelming workload, but has been known to treat them as lesser than herself. For instance, on several occasions, Kim and her daughter North would go to lunch accompanied by a nanny, but Kim would always make her nanny sit at a separate table far away from them when they were in restaurants. But she is known to make her nannies also walk at least like 10 feet away from her at all times. Unless she has multiple nannies with her at once, then she likes to make them stand in like a V formation because it looks cool apparently. If they walk near her or attempt to try and walk side by side, she blows up at them behind closed doors. And needless to say, she has had many nannies over the year and has probably made a lot of them cry at least once. Number 9. Kourtney in general. While Kim may not be the best boss in the world, it's Kourtney who is known as the absolute worst boss of all time. According to former nannies, Kourtney was by far the worst Kardashian to work for. Not only is she a neat freak, needing every single thing to be exactly where it should be, but she's also known for being surprisingly cheap, even once calling a grocery store while she was shopping to compare the prices of a chicken breast. Because, if anyone needs that extra 99 cents, it's Kourtney. But this isn't the worst thing she's done. At one time, Kourtney's daughter had bitten a nanny so hard that she had to quit. But instead of letting it go and taking responsibility for not teaching her daughter how to act properly, she actually berated the nanny and told her that she should have said something to her daughter in the moment. Cause yes, blame the woman that you're paying to raise your child instead of the child itself, who's probably got some kind of an abandonment issue. Number 8. Toxic chemicals. Kylie Jenner is the youngest of the Kardashian clan, is extremely successful for her age. In 2019, she made the cover of Forbes magazine as the youngest self-made billionaire ever, following the successful partnership between her cosmetic brand and Ulta, a beauty salon company, which would allow the brand previously only available online and in random pop-up stores to be placed on shelves in Ulta's 1,000 plus stores. This is unfortunate considering the true nature of just where those products come from. You see, many employees at the factory that mix and package her makeup have reported that they were never given any proper safety equipment that one would require to do that job. They were only given hairnets, lab coats, and safety goggles, leaving their hands and faces completely exposed. And workers would regularly report migraines, mild chemical burns on their hands, and a myriad of other symptoms. If this isn't bad enough, they were also forced to act as human test subjects for Kylie's new products. Now, Kylie was very proud of her company not testing products on animals, but we can agree that using people like guinea pigs is like a billion times worse, right guys? Number 7. The underpay. While the Kardashians have had their problems with staff individually, there seems to be one specifically toxic trait that the family shares as a unit. They don't like to pay people. Former employees have come forward over the years calling out the family for not paying them fair wages or overtime hours. The Kardashians don't cover expenses, meaning gas, food, rent, anything that you need is paid out of pocket, with zero money coming back to you. To make matters worse, the Kardashians wouldn't pay them on a set amount of days, meaning you just kinda gotta check when you gotta check and had to deal with it in between A and B. You would think with the family being one of the richest in the world that they would at least pay the people that help run their lives. Now, while they have a massive staff of people cooking their food, folding their clothes, and raising their children, they barely even acknowledge their existence. Just imagine what would happen if that staff decided to walk out. The family would crumble in less than a day. Number 6. Factory workers. Popping back to Kylie's makeup factory for a moment, we felt the need to split her misdoings into 2 separate entries simply because of just how messed up this place really is. Not only do they not have proper safety equipment and are basically used as human test subjects whenever Kylie wants, the factory itself is small and cramped, with many employees claiming that there were too many workers and not enough space. This description sounds very similar to, a sweatshop, which is a word describing a workplace in which the employees work ridiculous hours and brutal conditions for nearly nothing for pay. And a lot of people agreed with that statement. One former tester recounts having to constantly go back and forth to the bathroom as her anxiety was always through the roof. She was around so many people so much of her day, and it was such a terrible work environment. We completely understand the need to escape. At one point a few years back, Kylie even refused to pay her employees at a garment factory in Bangladesh, leaving thousands of employees with no money and no idea when or if they were going to return to work. Man, you know what? You suck, Kylie. Number 5, Victoria. Victoria Valero has been Kylie's close personal assistant since 2015, but the pair go back to 2014 when she was interning as a personal assistant for Kylie's mother, Kris. After gaining the family's trust, she was hired as Kylie's house manager at first, but soon after became her personal assistant. Herself and Jenner became very close over the years, and Victoria was even present at the secret birth of Kylie's daughter, Stormi. Now you would think with being so close to the family through thick and thin that she would want to stick around, right? Well, all good things must come to an end, as Victoria decided to quit in 2019. Many fans allege that she had just quit her job to focus on becoming an Instagram influencer, but that was far from her real reason for leaving. Being in that family means seeing a lot of stuff and doing a lot of stuff, and Victoria was basically in charge of scheduling Kylie's life, booking appointments, meetings, massages, all of this stressful enough, basically being a 24/7 gig, but the job was also very degrading, with Kylie having Victoria even pull out a stool once and set it up outside so that Kylie could get out of her car smoother. I think anyone in their right mind would want to get out of that job as quickly as possible. Number 4, paid in exposure. When Andre Turbia, a very famous YouTube animator and content creator, was asked to work with Kylie Jenner, he thought that his life would change forever. He was under the impression that the collaboration would grant him a huge amount of money, possibly a guest spot on her reality TV show, and maybe some shoutouts online via Instagram and Twitter. However, when Andre brought up the topic of his compensations to Jenner, she responded with, the company doesn't actually have a budget right now to pay you, so we're just gonna have to pay you in exposure. Like, okay, that's cool. You can't cook exposure in a frying pan and eat it for dinner though, and I'm pretty sure it's not currency accepted at any gas stations or banks that I know of. And of course, by exposure, she meant that Andre's name was going to be printed as small as possible underneath her content. Andre did what anyone in their right mind would do in that situation and refused to work with her, telling her to take her exposure and shove it where the sun don't shine. Number 3, GoFundMe. In March 2021, Kylie, look, she's back again, shared an Instagram post asking for prayers for one of her makeup artist named Samuel Rhoda. The post redirected fans to a GoFundMe page where they were asking to donate money for covering his medical bills for an upcoming surgery. That's right, the woman made a feature on Forbes' top 60 self-made women and was asking her fans to give over the goods. So why would she not just use some of her billions of dollars to cover the bills herself? Well, she went online to claim that her and Sam didn't actually know each other personally, but she had worked with him a few years ago and thought that he was a sweetheart. Supposedly, her current makeup artist had shared a post about Samuel's accident, which included a link to a GoFundMe campaign created by his family. She went on to let fans know that she herself donated like $5,000. Okay, sure, that's a ton of money for us, but for Jenner, that's like $5. So something tells me the surgery is going to be a little bit more than that. This is just another instance proving that Kylie is the absolute worst. Number 2, Forbes flub. I'm sorry, was that not enough proof for you that Kylie sucks? Well, hey, here you go. As mentioned earlier in this list, Kylie Jenner made the cover of Forbes magazine in 2019 as the youngest self-made billionaire ever, following the successful partnership between her cosmetic brand, named after herself, and Ulta, a beauty salon company. Well, it turned out that wasn't really the case. Jenner allegedly sold half of her cosmetics company, Kylie Cosmetics, to beauty giant Coty in a deal worth $1.2 billion. Now, this was huge and considered one of the greatest celebrity cash outs of all time. But the first rule of being a famous person is, if you can help it, try not to lie, especially to like Forbes magazine. who did some digging and revealed that Jenner was actually inflating the size and profit margins of her business. It turned out the cosmetic brand was on a much smaller scale than originally thought, as it was uncovered Jenner only actually made around $314 million after taxes for her company. Several financial advisors backed up the story, claiming that they were berated into complying with the lie and made to help maintain the numbers for publicity's sake. The mother of the family, Kris, even played a key role in gathering false business documents to send to Forbes, making her company appear to be in the billions. Remember, if you can't figure something out, just ask mom. And number 1, the lawsuit. In March of 2021, a lawsuit was arranged by several of Kim's former employees. The plaintiffs claim Kardashian West failed to pay overtime, cover expenses, or provide any legally mandated breaks, which, like, hey, super illegal. They also never received actual pay stubs or any proof of payment whatsoever. They were also made to purchase everything out of pocket, and one plaintiff was even fired on the spot for simply addressing his concerns to Kim. And when the rest were eventually let go, they received no type of severance package or pay of any kind. It was also uncovered that Kim would keep 10% of all of their earnings for tax purposes, but failed to report their employment to tax authorities. Kim's argument was that she could not be held responsible for any of this, as most of her employees were supposedly hired and paid by a third-party company, meaning that she herself was not technically their direct employer and therefore could not be liable. Kim maintains that she paid people on time and that they were suing the wrong person, but if that were the case, maybe Kardashian would have used some of her high status and influence long ago to make things work for her staff so that, hey, maybe she wouldn't be getting sued right now. Something to think about, Kim.
Coming in number 10 today, we have Will Smith. If you're a fan of the show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, then you know that Janet Hubert, who played the beloved character Aunt Viv, mysteriously vanished from the show at the end of season 3. And then in an interview with Atlanta radio station in 1993, Will Smith would try to call out his co-star by saying, "I can't say straight up that Janet Hubert wanted the show to be the Aunt Viv of Bel-Air show, because I know she's going to dog me in the press. She has basically gone from $250,000 a year to nothing. She's mad now, but she's been mad all along. She said once, I've been in the business for 10 years and this snotty-nosed punk comes along and gets a show. No matter what, to her, I'm just the Antichrist." Then later, Janet would come out to criticize the show, and she would express her dislike for Will Smith by explaining how difficult he is to work with on set, and she even swore that she would never appear in a reunion episode when she said there will never be a reunion with an a-hole like Will Smith. He is still an egomaniac and he has not grown up. This constant reunion thing will never happen in my lifetime unless there is an apology, which he doesn't know the word for. Number 9, Emma Roberts. Back in 2013, Star Magazine would report that Emma Roberts was a nightmare to work with on the set of the show American Horror Story. Emma, who played a movie star named Madison on the program, allegedly on season 3, the star's behavior has become so intolerable that her co-star and actress Gabourey Sidibe, who played Queenie, called Roberts out for her odd behavior by telling the actress to cut her attitude and stop being rude. An insider would then also tell the magazine that Emma's behavior was so bad she even started to act like she was above everyone else on the set, and the magazine would also state that the feud between the two actresses erupted due to Emma's diva-like behavior on the set, as Emma was complaining about the tiniest things and she even refused to speak to certain crew members. While it seems like Emma was on the outs with one of her co-stars and some of the crew members, she was getting along well with the creator, writer, and producer Ryan Murphy. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming number 8, we have Millie Bobby Brown. Back in July, Millie Bobby Brown started to make headlines everywhere after she decided to diss the Stranger Things writers in an interview with The Wrap. In the interview, Millie would discuss her interests in some of the gruesome changes occurring within the Stranger Things universe. One particular change would involve the show's creators getting rid of main characters by making them pass away, as Millie believes the cast of the characters has grown too much throughout the run of the series. And when she was looking around at the 4th season's premiere, she noted she didn't realize how large the cast had gotten. She also added that she thinks the show's creators are too sensitive, get rid of characters, before she stated, "We need to have a mindset of Game of Thrones. Kill me off, they tried killing David off, and then they brought him back." The Duffer Brothers then responded to Millie's statement of calling them sensitive Sallies by saying that she was hilarious, before adding that they explored all options in the writing room and they don't want to make their show depressing. Number 7. Johnny Depp. After Amber Heard destroyed Johnny Depp's career, after he won his life back in 2022, you would think the actor would be on his best behavior. However, before his trial, there has been reports that Johnny had really odd behavior on set. And back in December, it would be reported that during the filming of Jean de Barry, where he plays Louis XV, Depp was extremely rude towards the director and co-star Maïwenn Lebasco. And actor Bernard Montiel would be the one to disclose the rumors during a French talk show called Don't Touch My TV Set back in October. The actor would reveal that Johnny and the director clashed throughout the entire set and that Johnny had been reportedly falling back into his old habits by saying, "I've heard some noise from the shoot, very serious stuff." So Depp is an excellent actor when he comes on set, except sometimes at 6 in the morning the crew is ready and nobody turns up. So of course Maïwenn, who is the director, gets angry and the next day she's the one who doesn't turn up. And then you got Johnny and she's not there. It's finished over this week, but it's going very, very badly. They don't get along at all and they're screaming at each other the whole time. Number 6. Amber Heard. It's clear that the word celebrity has definitely gotten to Amber Heard's head because while she was in the UK filming the scene for a crime thriller called London Fields, it said that the actor threw a huge tantrum on the set that brought the production to a temporary standstill. A source would then tell the Daily Mail that there were some people watching the shoot outside. Then Amber came out to film and the actress got visibly upset about the onlookers, particularly at an individual who was watching. The source then said right in the middle of the scene, she stopped and said, "How am I supposed to do this when all I can see is that guy in my eye line?" Then after Amber was done throwing her tantrum, the crew was forced to set up a screen so Amber could film her scene without any distractions. Number 5. Shia LaBeouf. So we all heard the rumors about Shia LaBeouf's behavior on the set of Don't Worry Darling, while Olivia Wilde has claimed that Shia was making Florence Pugh feel uncomfortable while they were filming scenes due to his odd behavior on set. Shia would quickly deny Olivia's claims and say that he actually quit the film, which would cause Olivia to come out and double down on her claims that she fired him by saying, "My responsibility was towards her. I'm like a mother wolf. Making the call was tricky, but in a way, he understood. I don't think it would have been a process he enjoyed. He comes to his work with intensity that can be combative." While Olivia went on to note that she would love to see Shia evolve, she would also say that Shia is a great loss to the film industry because he's so incredibly talented and he's unable to work due to his poor behavior. Later, Olivia would even address Shia's behavior by saying, "He has a process in some ways, seems to require combative energy, and I don't personally believe that it is conductive to the best performances." Number 4. Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase used to be one of the busiest and best loved comedy actors around. However, somewhere along the lines, the tides would turn after he burned multiple bridges and became difficult and combative to work with. While Chase is known for being portrayed as a nice guy, behind the scenes, Chase has a reputation as being one of the least pleasant men in Hollywood to work with. The problem, according to his peers, is that Chase is very difficult to be around because you don't know what to expect when it comes to the star's actions. When the star decided to return to SNL after leaving, he ruffled everyone's feathers in the process. What made matters worse is that the actor even directed his brand of cruel humor at Terry Sweeney, who was SNL's first openly gay casted member, and by all accounts, Chase threw a slew of homophobic jokes surrounding Terry. Then after Chase was forced to apologize to Sweeney, Terry would say, "He was really furious that he had to apologize to me, and it was just awful. He acted horrible to me. He acted horribly to everyone." And while many fans and crew members and co-stars have called out the actor on his poor behavior, it's clear that the actor doesn't even care, and he's even stated so. Number 3. Cameron Diaz. While Cameron Diaz became a rising star thanks to her role in the film Charlie's Angels, the star's air-rising antics have cemented a reputation of the actress as being a spoiled star. While Cameron was working on the film Sweetest Thing, a source would claim that Cameron became so demanding that she needed her underarm shaved, and she even had her personal assistant do it, when they said she noticed between takes that she had some underarm stubble. Instead of going back to her trailer, to shave it herself. She lifts her arms high in the air and made her assistant do the demanding task right there in front of 200 extras. The source would then even claim that while filming, the actor messed up an easy line in a script 20 times just because she didn't like the scene. And after she kicked up a fuss to the director, she was able to get the line changed, and then she bragged to her co-stars on set that she knew the director would do it her way. Number 2. Joaquin Phoenix. When Joaquin Phoenix made an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live, things would get incredibly awkward after Joaquin talked about how much fun he had on the set. Jimmy then decided to surprise the actor with a blooper that was sent over by director Todd Phillips that would show that the film was everything but a good time. In the video, it would show Joaquin cursing out the Joker cinematographer Lawrence Sher while trying to film a scene. In the video, you would see Joaquin saying, "You know, just the constant whisper. Just shut the F up, dude. I know you started the effing Cher thing. Larry, you think it's so effing funny making fun of me. I'm an effing diva. It's not even an insult. Cher, really? She's a single actor, dance, fashion icon. How is that an effing insult? I can't do this, man." The actor was then visibly shaken by seeing the footage broadcasted on national TV, and it's clear that he thought he would get away with his poor behavior, but then he got called out by Jimmy Kimmel. Joaquin would then note that he was embarrassed by his actions, and sometimes movies get intense because you're a lot of people in a small place trying to find something so it can feel intense. And coming in number 1 today, we have Lindsay Lohan. When Lindsay Lohan was working on the set of Glee, her second day on the set wouldn't go down as the star's finest hour. Sources on the set would then give E! News exclusive details about Lindsay's guest appearance, which would include the actress being incredibly late to the set, and the production even had to send out a car to pick her up and bring her to the set. A source would then even say Lindsay was a total nightmare yesterday, as she was 3 hours late in the morning, and when she did finally arrive, she didn't want to be there, she did not want to work, and she had not memorized her lines, and she kept disappearing so no one could find her. E! News would also then claim that the crew members on the set were so less than thrilled by Lindsay's antics that they even gave her the nickname of that girl, for adding that she rubbed them all up the wrong way by being disrespectful to everyone else's schedules.
Number 10. Worst of the bunch. Of all the members of the clan, Kendall Jenner has been consistently brought up as simultaneously the most relatable and the meanest. She may take up the most points on this list all by her lonesome. As the first and probably most minor complaint against her, a TikTok video where a fan recalled meeting Kim Kardashian in New York City also happened to throw shade at Kendall at the same time. In the video, the TikToker praised Kim for being, quote, "the most polite celebrity I've ever met." Talking about the celebrities that she has met, the TikToker said, quote, "including Kendall, who I can't say the same about." It was interesting how when the conversation was about Kendall specifically, the TikToker made note that, quote, "Kendall could learn a thing or two." The post made its way to Reddit, where other fans joined in on the conversation and their opinions on Kendall. One user wrote, "Kendall has always just given me that reserved, wiry, shy but rude kind of vibe on the show. I wasn't sure if that was her in character." There was also one commenter that claimed to not know a single Keeping Up with the Kardashians fan who had a positive experience when meeting Kendall Jenner in real life. And here's an example of that very thing. Number 9. No tip for you. Back in 2014, a waitress accused Kendall Jenner of skipping out on a $60 bill and not leaving a tip. But wait, when the waitress allegedly chased after Kendall Jenner to get the money, Kendall turned around and threw cash in the woman's face and then laughed. It doesn't even sound like real life. The waitress then took to Twitter saying, quote, "that horrible moment when you chase a Kardashian down the street because she forgot to pay her bill to be thrown money in your face." Kendall did respond to the rumors, but by calling them ridiculous, and she then had her lawyers whip up a cease and desist letter to the server. Nothing kinda says guilt like an instant cease and desist letter. I wouldn't know, I'm just thinking that's what it's like. 3 years later though, Kendall was also not a good customer at a bar in Brooklyn when a server posted a since deleted picture of a bill for just $24 that Kendall had signed but left the tip field blank. Now Kendall responded to this one as well, but by saying that she paid it in cash, but the bar accused her of lying. What are your thoughts on tipping? I know that it's one of the main benefits of waiting tables or bartending, so to skip out on that for me is pretty vile. Number 8. Sugar Factory. All those many years ago, back in 2016, Kendall's younger sister, Kylie Jenner, was at the opening of Sugar Factory in Orlando, Florida. For her arrival, Kylie had around 3,000 of her fans waiting for her, only for them to apparently be disappointed. The official press release from Sugar Factory themselves, of course, had almost entirely positive things to say surrounding the opening and Kylie's participation in it, but one publication, Star Magazine, seemed to see things a little differently. Coming from an insider source, the magazine got reports that Kylie's appearance at the opening was actually, quote, a huge disappointment, and that apparently she was rude to the majority of her fans. Star Magazine stated that apparently the youngest of the Kardashians/Jenners apparently showed up to the event an hour late, and if that weren't bad enough, she only stayed for about 5 minutes to take a few selfies and then just dipped on out of there, leaving fans dissatisfied and disappointed. Number 7. Fitness. For a period of time in like the mid-2010s, Khloe Kardashian was pretty heavily focused on her fitness and getting into shape. Hell yeah, we love living healthily. But going along with that time in her life, Khloe would often post her workouts on social media, specifically Snapchat, for fans to follow along to and get themselves in shape alongside the celebrity. But as usually is the case, there was criticism, and some fans didn't think the videos were all that good. Well, Khloe understandably snapped back on Snapchat in 2017. With the pottiest of potty mouths, she addressed the seemingly impossible to please fans, saying, quote, "What bothers me so much about people is that I'm giving you guys my workouts on my snaps for free." She continued on, quote, "Why the F are you still complaining and saying, if I had a trainer, if I had a gym? Well, I don't have a gym. We're doing everything outside. I'm showing you guys how to do the workout so you don't need a trainer. I'm using everything that I'm sure you guys have around the house or could improvise. What the F?" To be completely honest, I actually kind of agree with her. To complain that the videos she made out to share her experience and to try and help people who want to work out aren't good enough is kind of just a little rude. But then again, she also said if only complaining burned calories, you guys would be some healthy I can't say the whole of the sentence, but you get what I'm saying? Kinda waiting it out. Number 6. Nobodies. Now, we all need to just sit back and take this one with a little itty tiny bitty grain of salt. When a magazine uses the words insider source, more than half the time, it's just someone off the internet or someone who is not actually an insider, and therefore their statements cannot be taken as fact. It's also worth noting that most people have found Kim to be the nicest person of the family when meeting fans. But, that being said, Kim Kardashian allegedly calls her fans stupid little nobodies. According to Star Magazine, in 2012, an insider source, quote unquote, told the publication that, quote, Kris has text and voicemails from Kim where she calls her audience gullible, ouch, stupid imbeciles, ooh, boring little nobodies, yikes, and pathetic people with no lives of their own. Mic drop. Ouch, my feelings are hurt. I'm not a fan, but my feelings are still hurt. Don't be so rude. If you didn't actually say those things though, I'm sorry. And you're great, Kim. You're a great person. Number 5. Well then, I'm sure that most of us can agree that social media, but specifically Twitter, is a cesspool of meme lords, trolls, and keyboard warriors. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. Twitter is like a breeding ground for hot takes, upsetting political stances, taking shots at famous people who would never normally give you the time of day, and apparently wannabe sports commentators. Those very same sport fans found a way to both comment on the state of the Cleveland Cavaliers and take shots at Khloe Kardashian in one swift move. One Twitter user tweeted, presumably as a joke, quote, Cavs haven't been playing too well since Khloe Kardashian. Just saying. That's because Khloe had been in a toxic as hell relationship with Tristan Thompson, who was playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers. For the record though, it was Tristan that was the toxic one, but in defense of her boo and the team he plays for, Khloe decided to clap back, and in her well-worded rebuttal, Khloe tweeted, quote, they are number 1 in their conference, but thanks for sucking my expletive. Hard enough to think I have that much power. Lick on my expletive while you're at it. I think we can all agree Khloe is truly a wizard of words. A true poet, I think. Very nice. Very good. Number 4. Selfie. Last year, Hulu's Victoria's Secret documentary was available for the world to watch, but one clip from the documentary in particular caught some attention, and it was Kendall Jenner, back again, being a true Scorpio. It's a very short clip, but essentially the scene sees Kendall sitting on what looks like a makeup chair with a silk pink robe on, and a group of fans behind her. Basically, Kendall reaches back, takes a phone from one of the fans, snaps a couple selfies, and then hands it back. That's all that happened, but the whole thing was just so funny because, other than the brief moment where she smiled for the selfie, Kendall was not just straight-faced, but she had the stank face on. The one where you really just ain't there to even pretend to be nice to people. That kind of face. I feel like we all know what we're talking about. The fan looked like she was being silently told off when Kendall handed that phone back, and when Kendall turns back to camera with this annoyed eyebrow raise kind of thing, she looks like she wishes she would be anywhere else. Of course, the clip made its way to Twitter where people voiced their thoughts, like this one person who tweeted, quote, "This clip of Kendall from the Hulu Victoria's Secret doc really says a lot about who she probably is." Someone on Reddit added, quote, "That eyebrow raise and look of annoyance is irritating my soul." One more person did make a good point though when they wrote, "It is actually disgusting. They forget that the fans are the reason they have what they have." And that is primarily kinda true, ain't it? Number 3, not in the mood. Now look, being a celebrity, having people wanting to take pictures with you all the time can be very exhausting, and celebrities have every right to say no when they don't want to take pictures with their fans. Point blank. Just as every person is allowed to say they don't want to pose for a picture. In an episode of Kourtney and Khloe Take the Hamptons, Kourtney Kardashian and Scott Disick are off taking a casual ride through his childhood neighborhood in an old convertible. As is bound to happen, a few girls end up noticing them at a stop sign and they ask if they can take a picture with the stars. Scott was all for it, saying sure, but Kourtney quickly follows up with no! And they continued on with their drive through memory lane. Now Scott apologized to the fans saying, "Alright, sorry, she said no," as they drove off, and Scott is like, "That's not very nice," and she explains she simply didn't want to get out of the car and that she's, quote, "not in the mood for a pic." Honestly, fair, she doesn't have to be, but I think she could have maybe been just a wee bit nicer about it. I don't know. What do you think? Number 2, best spot in the shade. Ever been asked to move so a celeb can take a photo shoot where you were comfortably chillin'? Well, a TikToker by the name of Lizudel called out Kim Kardashian for allegedly booting her out of this really chill area at Revolve Festival that was right by a lake with really nice grass, some decent shade, and had a fire pit. It was a good spot to get, but it was also a great spot for a photo shoot, and that's exactly what Kim wanted it for. The caption in the clip says, quote, "Right before Kim K kicked us out of this shady chill spot at Revolve," with the caption accompanying the clips reading, "Much love to your photo shoot," which is kind of passive aggressive, so obviously the TikToker was a little peeved about it, but to be completely fair, reactions in the comments were pretty mixed. Some folks agreed and thought that it was messed up for Kim Kardashian to ask anyone to move, but others made a good point. Kim was promoting the brand Revolve that were running the festival in the first place, so these fans reasoned that it's fair that Kim gets to choose where she wants the photos taken. One comment read, quote, "Well duh, they invited influencers. Nobody knows who you are. They're gonna make you move." And that actually seemed to make a little bit of sense to a lot of people and to me as well, to be perfectly honest, but at the same time, when an area is available publicly for everyone, being expected to move so that Kim Kardashian can take a photo, it kinda sucks. Number 1, even at the airport. We gotta end the list with Kendall Jenner yet again. I'm so sorry. There are just so many more instances of Kendall being less than great with people as there are for any of the other Kardashians. As part of an ongoing series, a former LAX employee has been taking to TikTok, ranking her experiences with some of the many celebrities she's crossed paths with during her years working at the airport. Kendall Jenner was one of those celebrities, and the TikTok did not paint her in a great picture. The former employee described her interactions with Kendall saying, quote, "Every time she flew out, she was not really friendly to anybody and just walked around really arrogant." Then she slapped Kendall with a 2 out of 10 rating. 2 is pretty good, right? It's 1 more than 1 and 2 more than 0, so I'd say that's something. This TikTok pretty heavily reminds me of the first and second point on this list. I promise I don't have anything against Kendall, she just seems to be the one who consistently gets called out for being a little unsavory with employees and general people. While it's possible these are just instances of negative experiences staffers had with Kendall, the consistency of the bad experiences, coupled with all that we have seen from Kendall and everyone else, doesn't paint a great picture of her or anyone's character. Kicking off the list at number 10 is Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle is more than a little divisive, and she has been for a hot minute. Ever since her and Prince Harry became a thing, people love to dish out how she's apparently incredibly mean to those who work under her. Interestingly though, it's usually those who don't like her that seem to bring these issues forward, but nonetheless, there have been multiple reports of Meghan treating royal staffers less than appropriately. According to one story, the former actor was tasting food for her wedding and she had reportedly requested a quote, macrobiotic alliterative option. Now, I don't even know what those words mean, but apparently it means no eggs, because she got very upset when she thought there was egg in the dish, and well, there wasn't. According to Vanity Fair's royal reporter Katie Nicholl, quote, she said, no, I can taste it. I can taste there's an egg in this dish. And I think there was a bit of an upset when suddenly the Queen walked in and she just quietly took Meghan to the side and said, Meghan, in this family we don't speak to people like that. There were also a series of leaked emails written by Jason Nauf, a former palace communications secretary, that were sent to Prince William's private secretary with the names of 2 bullied staffers subbed for X and Y. In the email, Nauf wrote, the Duchess seems intent on always having someone in her sights. She is bullying Y and seeking to undermine her confidence. We have had report after report from people who have witnessed unacceptable behavior towards Y. Number 9. Anna Wintour. You ever seen The Devil Wears Prada? If you haven't, well, be better and go watch it. The main villain of the film and the book it's based on is the assistant protagonist boss, Miranda Priestley, the powerful New York City-based editor-in-chief of the fictional fashion magazine Runway, who of course is fictional. But the author of the book, Lauren Weisberger, worked as a junior assistant for Anna Wintour, a New York City-based editor-in-chief of Vogue magazine since 1988, and that is not fictional. What does that tell us? Lauren has since said that the list of demands made by the editor in the novel is made up of both fact and fiction, with the factual parts being inspired by what she endured early in her career under Wintour. There is a whole book semi-based on the way that this woman would treat her assistants and how it completely changes a person for the worst. So that's all you need to know, really. Number 8. Katie Couric. Back in 2021, journalist and presenter Katie Couric published a memoir called Going There, which was supposed to be all fun and gossipy, but it was decidedly not that. She described in the book how she froze out female colleagues at NBC to protect her quote, turf at the top, and how she loved getting under rival female colleagues' skin. According to a TV industry insider, Couric contributed to the infamous toxicity at NBC and was part of a culture that wasn't supportive of women. In her book, she talks down on women from Martha Stewart to Diane Sawyer and Deborah Norville, and it's all for the ambition they show, which is pretty similar to Katie's own ambition. Those who have worked for Couric say that her memoir is par for the course with the celeb. According to an anonymous senior news producer, quote, she gives fresh meaning to that old saying, there's a special place in hell for women who don't help other women. Another female co-worker whose feelings she hurt is Ashley Banfield, who staffers said was humiliated by Couric at the 2000 Olympics and treated like a child. Couric even admits in her book that she gave Banfield the cold shoulder because helping her would have been quote self-sabotage. There's also the fact that she kind of excused the actions of Matt Lauer, but that's a whole separate thing all of its own. Number 7. Naomi Campbell. The legendary model Naomi Campbell changed the fashion industry and is still one of the most important supermodels ever. If you think that means she must be nice, then let me introduce you to the way the world works. Naomi has been so bad that it's led to actual legal action. multiple times. As some examples, in 2000, Campbell was sued by her assistant Georgina Galanis as apparently the model blunt forced Galanis with a telephone in a hotel room and then threatened to push her out of a moving car. In 2004, Campbell supposedly introduced her personal assistant, Amy Castellado, to her forehead with force and then bit her lip and yanked her to the floor while screaming, "You effing worthless bee." I can't actually say the words, but I think you can infer what I'm trying to say here. And then in 2006, Campbell allegedly pulled another blunt force on her housekeeper, Anna Scolavino, with a mobile phone. That same year, Campbell is said to have open palmed her personal assistant, Amanda Brack, and struck her on the head, again with a mobile phone. So, what I'm saying is that 1, she is literally physical with people, and 2, her choice of tool for these interactions seems to always be some form of communication device. So, if you ever see Naomi Campbell with a phone or like a walkie-talkie or something, just be on guard, okay? Because she's vicious with that. She's vicious with it, that's all I'm saying. All jokes aside though, between 1998 and 2010, 8 employees have accused the supermodel of getting physical with them, and I don't think we should just let that off lightly. Number 6, Victoria Beckham. If you thought that the Spice Girl, who went by Posh Spice, wasn't going to be at least a little problematic with her staff, well, I don't know, I guess you were wrong, huh? Look at that. A former nanny of fashion designer and former Spice Girl Victoria Beckham has revealed that Victoria expects all the nannies of her household to answer to the name Joe, even if their name is not Joe. So, if you're working with Naomi Campbell, you get dinged up by the wonders of modern communication, but if you're working for Victoria Beckham and her kids, your individual identity is at stake. So pick your poison, I guess. Remind me to never work for a celebrity, ever. Apparently, this is because the very first nanny of Beckham's daughter Harper was named Joe, and I suppose this rule is to not confuse the kid? But you're telling me that your kid can't understand the basic principles of jobs and employee turnover? I don't know, seems a little suspicious. Number 5, Madonna. She may be one of the most influential artists in pop music, but Madonna has a rep. I think someone somewhere probably knew she would be on a list like this, and maybe it was you. Ooh. Madonna has a huge team of people under her, and while in one instance you would have her backup dancers willing to get arrested for dancing provocatively in her shows in Toronto, you'd have way more instances of them just not being paid or not being paid in full, which has led her employees to sue her multiple times. She has fired or lost staff for taking time off, being upset about the crazy long hours they're expected to work, the fact that they don't get enough breaks, and for being required to be on call 24/7. On top of that, she's been sued multiple times for acting inappropriately with her staff, and a couple of years ago, an anonymous source revealed that when one of Madonna's dancers broke her arm during practice, instead of being concerned, Madonna threw a fit. Number 4, Lady Gaga. I know the Lady Gaga fans are many, and I know they are powerful, but alas, if your idol is kind of the worst sometimes, I am honor-bound to talk about it. Sorry. Gaga's former assistant Jennifer O'Neill says that Lady Gaga has a, quote, big head, and that her demands became bigger and bigger once she started to get bigger. That same assistant was the one who eventually sued the artist for $400,000 in unpaid overtime, which was settled out of court. Not only did she not get paid what she fairly earned, but the assistant had discussed some of the expectations of the job once Gaga had gotten big. She had to handle around 20 bags of luggage at the same time, handle all the singer's communications, and she was on call at every moment of the day. According to O'Neill, she was by her side virtually 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That includes sleeping in the same bed with her because she did not sleep alone. And Jennifer wasn't even given breaks for food or sleep, so imagine how that worked out. Not very well. Number 3, James Corden. From what I know, Late Late Show host James Corden being exposed as kinda just the worst is a more recent revelation. There have been a few different stories that I've heard of, including a little back and forth with Sir Patrick Stewart at an awards show a few years back, which you can watch on YouTube, and I suggest you do because it's kind of really awkward and really funny, but the story I hear the most involves James being a menace to the service industry. According to Balthazar owner Keith McNally, who took to Instagram on October 17th, 2022 to publicly ban James Corden from the New York City restaurant, James Corden is, quote, a talented comic but a tiny cretin of a man. which is just hilarious. In his Instagram post, he detailed multiple incidents in which James was rude, dismissive, or nasty to the restaurant staff, calling the late night host the worst he'd had in 25 years of hospitality service. That's coming from a guy who runs a New York restaurant, so you know he's seen some things. But even though McNally forgave Corden and lifted his ban, it got people talking. Like former Spice Girl Mel B, who dubbed James Corden the biggest D-head in Hollywood while on Britain's The Big Narsty Show on December 2nd, 2022. According to her, James feels people are beneath him. She said, quote, "Whether it be production, camera guys, sound lighting, we all work for the same thing, so you should always be nice, and he hasn't been very nice." Number 2, Vin Diesel. If you think having a co-producer credit on the absolutely massive Fast and Furious franchise would go to someone's head, well, you'd be correct. Look at you go. Armed with his producer credit, Vin Diesel has been able to get away with a lot of tardiness on his Fast and the Furious sets. With the power to make decisions about pretty much everything, Vin has apparently peed off quite a few cast and crew members on his films. Apparently, he ain't a fan of 7 AM Monday morning call times for set, which is kind of understandable. So, the whole production was forced to make it 10 AM just for him. These are 12-hour days, usually more actually, just so we understand what's going on here. But even with that adjusted time schedule, Vin was often 30 minutes to an hour late to shoot scenes. And it wasn't because he was late to set, it's because he was chillin' in his 1,100 square foot, 2-story custom-built gold trailer with $70,000 worth of technology, round-the-clock video surveillance, and granite countertops in the kitchen. I'm actually not joking, and that trailer does indeed follow him around the world to sets. It's actually kinda cool, not gonna lie, but not cool enough to hold up entire productions. Vin also makes very big decisions about what will and won't happen on the films, and he would tick off a lot of people doing that. One of them famously being The Rock, who made a post about it online. Now, The Rock regrets that action, but as he said in a later interview, quote, "Yet, interestingly enough, it was as if every single crew member found their way to me and either quietly thanked me or sent me a note. But yeah, it wasn't my best day sharing that." And finally, in at number 1, Alec Baldwin. No, I'm not going to be talking about the fact that Alec Baldwin accidentally took someone's life on set, but I will be talking about how the actor has been accused of belittling customer service workers. In May 2023, a server accused Alec of calling her a peasant. The anonymous waitress told Page 6, "I was going to feed the head of the table, but that's who Alec was talking to. So I go up to him and I say, 'I'm sorry sir, but we're going to have servers walking through the tables here in a minute.' Which is when Alec asked her, 'So when is it a good time to talk to my friends?' Huh?" Adding to that, he was very agitated and asked her, quote, "Do I have to explain it to you?" After replying that she didn't need Alec to explain a damn thing, Alec allegedly said, "Well then, step aside." Apparently, afterwards, her co-workers informed her that Alec had called her a peasant as she continued on doing her job. Now, there are also multiple clips online of Alec getting pretty aggressive with paparazzi, which is okay, and there was a time he got pretty fed up when cycling through New York. Baldwin has been known for his anger issues for quite some time now, so yeah. Coming in at number 10 is Gordon Ramsay. Now, obviously, this doesn't really come as a surprise to anyone, but also in the world of cooking, I don't actually think that Gordon Ramsay is the worst chef out there when it comes to treating his employees like a bunch of schmucks. I don't really need to give examples. If you go and watch almost any of his shows, he has got a no BS policy, and he will call out employees, clients, or hell, kitchen contestants aggressively for their shortcomings and idiocracy. But on the flip side of that, Gordon does reward hard work, stands up to aggressive customers, can be genuinely very nice, and if you've watched any of the kids' cooking shows he works on, you see that he is actually genuinely nice to children. Anytime we have seen Gordon Ramsay lose himself on somebody, it's always been someone that is at a high enough level in their career to know better, or they're at a high enough level that they've dealt with angrier French chefs, like the one who initiated Gordon into his career path in the first place. Number 9, Kendall Jenner. Once upon a time, a TikTok documented story was told by a disgruntled waitress that took place between Kendall Jenner and said server at Mercer Kitchen one night when Jenner asked for a cocktail and was denied her request. It's worth noting that she was underage at the time, so being denied is how it goes. But being told no is just not something that we can handle, is it? No, it's not. So she stormed out of the restaurant without paying her bill. Does that count as theft? I don't know. What's that actual charge? What's the charge for doing that? Tell me down below. Whatever it is, Kendall won't be worrying about the law because she did pay eventually. The server just had to chase her onto the street and request the money, which is when Jenner reportedly threw some cash in the server's face and carried on her merry way, bringing joy and smiles to the world. End of story. You're welcome. Number 8. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan is known for her love of parties. Or rather, I think she's known for those parties not going particularly smoothly and she winds up somewhere she doesn't want to be. Sure, Lohan is making a lot of effort to recover, and I think she's had her fair share of shame from the rest of us. But it doesn't really help when you learn that when the party has worn out its welcome, it leaves us with a hungover Lohan, and that girl is mean. Recently, some of Lohan's staff members have confided that she often wakes up at noon at the earliest, which, hey, I think all of us would do that if we had the chance. But naturally, Lohan is always in a terrible mood due to the hangover she has, and often takes out her crabbiness on her employees. Number 7. Rihanna. I don't wish for this to be true, but if it's on the internet, it must be true. That's how that goes, right? Honestly, we all know that Rihanna has some attitude and doesn't really put up with idiots, but we also know that she is incredibly fun and funny and has been just the best at times. Unfortunately, there's always some bad with the good. One of Rihanna's alleged staff members has come forward to vouch for her apparent sassy side. She stated that Rihanna has been an absolute nightmare to work for a long time. She said that Riri makes all kinds of ridiculous demands, is always under the influence of one substance or another, and has a total disregard for basic manners. Apparently, she doesn't even bother speaking to her staff. An anonymous source said that Rihanna doesn't talk to any of the, as they put it, hired help. Apparently, Rihanna also falls asleep when she is getting her makeup done, but that one I want to hope is just because of her massive busy schedule. Coming in at number 6 today is Beyonce. This one is almost as hurtful, if not more hurtful, than finding out Rihanna can be a little crabby sometimes. Beyonce, the queen bee, apparently can be a bit of a diva. Now I'm gonna pause here to say, it's Beyonce. Of course she's a diva. While I'm sure most of us imagine her as a graceful angel blessing us all with her presence, yeah. Well, a source revealed that about 10 years ago, while she was on a tour, all the local staff were instructed by Beyonce's people to not look at her, speak to her, or approach her. The staff were actually told before the show that if Beyonce was coming down the hall, you were to find an unlocked room and immediately go into it out of her presence. Which is just kind of hilarious, but also what the hell? But that ain't the end. Everything backstage had also had to be draped in linen, which then had to be smoothed out after she walked on it. And that part feels made up, but for some reason, I also believe it. Number 5. Tiger Woods. We all know that the moral standpoint of our friend Tiger Woods here is a little wavering, you know? Cheating on his wife aside, the guy is also apparently just not the nicest. Hank Haney, Tiger's former coach, with whom he had a pretty big falling out, gave out a few details about Woods' personality and etiquette around others. The angry former coach is obviously not on the greatest terms with the golfer, but he also has stated that Woods was a total jerk. He would force everyone he was dining with to leave the restaurant when he felt like it, whether they were ready or not, whether they were done eating or not. Haney also said that Woods had a reputation for tipping notoriously small amounts after eating out, and sometimes he wouldn't even tip at all. If you have Tiger Woods money and you do not tip, do not talk to me. Then again, you probably wouldn't be talking to me if you had that kind of money anyways, but grr, Tiger Woods, bad. Number 4. Lea Michele. Lea Michele was the closest thing to a lead on Glee, and she has become pretty well known recently for being an absolute nightmare to work with, as well as being outed as an itty bitty smidge bit racist by her co-stars and some crew of the show where she made some people's lives apparently living hell. In a statement from one of her co-stars, Heather Morris, she wrote, quote, "Let me be very clear, hate is a disease in America that we are trying to cure, so I would never wish for hate to be spread on anyone else." With that being said, was she unpleasant to work with? Very much so. For Lea to treat others with the disrespect that she did for as long as she did, I believe she should be called out. So we know she's made set life pretty hellish, but that extends to the service industry as well. It's been alleged that Michele verbally accosted a waiter once by chastising him and telling him he had no idea what he was talking about. Now first of all, anyone who says that at a restaurant to a waiter is probably the one who doesn't know what they're talking about. But there we go. Michele reportedly made fun of him when he tried to explain the ingredients in the dish, and then complained about him to more than one manager. More than that though, Michele was actually dining with her family and reportedly sent her father to knock on the kitchen window to see when the food was coming. Which is just so embarrassing. I couldn't do that. Nah. Number 3. J-Lo. Jennifer Lopez has been known, other than her marriages, for being relatively hard to work with. Among other incidents, J-Lo has been accused of getting a hotel maid fired for asking for her autograph. She's been rude to a flight attendant and put loads of pressure on her personal assistant, who was expected to do anything she needed you to do at the minute, whether that was cooking, cleaning, or scheduling. Which sounds like an assistant's job, but meh. Jenny has an infamous list of requirements for her staff as well. Back in 2012, it was suggested that the singer banned the people working on her new San Fernando Valley, California home from talking to or making eye contact with her. Heather Morris, who we talked about for Lea Michele, also used to be a backup dancer for J-Lo and claimed that after 8 hours of hoofing for a spot on the tour, Lopez asked all the dancers to raise their hands if they were Virgos, and then sent all those Virgos back home. Which is mean to Virgos. I'm a Virgo, that's rude. Leaked documents also reveal that Lopez's spaces, like hotels and all that jazz, must be painted entirely white with white linens, drapes, furniture, and even candles. Which is what? And also lastly, Jenny from the block apparently makes her assistant talk to waitstaff and airline employees instead of just talking to them directly. Jenny was from the block, but she's not anymore. Coming in at number 2 today is Usher. Before Usher was 21, he reportedly tried to use his celebrity status to force a bartender to sell to him, which was indeed refused. Now, we can try and blame that on a famous, rich, young person trying to flaunt his newly acquired fame. That is somewhat excusable, not really, but somewhat. But then again, it's also been stated that he has returned to the exact same establishment years later, and this time he left behind his autograph instead of a tip. And that makes me want to cry to the heavens and ask who gave this man the audacity. On top of that, several people on Reddit have claimed that Usher is just a rude customer. In a thread dedicated to exposing servers' experiences with celebrities, one Reddit user claimed that the R&B star refused to order for himself or speak to staff directly. The user also claimed that Usher didn't tip them, not even an autograph this time. Wow, crazy. And finally, in at number 1, it's Naomi Campbell. The legendary model Naomi Campbell changed the fashion industry and is still one of the most important supermodels ever. If you think that means she must be nice, then let me introduce you to the way the world works. Naomi has been so bad that it's led to actual legal action, multiple times. As some examples, in 2000, Campbell was sued by her assistant Georgina Galanis, as apparently the model blunt forced Galanis with a telephone in a motel room and then threatened to push her out of a moving car. That's pretty bad on its own. But then again, in 2004, Campbell supposedly introduced her personal assistant, Ami Castaldo, to her forehead with force, and then bit her lip and yanked her to the floor while screaming, words I'm not allowed to say online. And then in 2006, Campbell allegedly pulled another blunt force on her housekeeper this time, Anna Scalavino, with a mobile phone. That same year, Campbell is said to have open palmed her assistant, Amanda Brack, and struck her on the head again with a mobile phone. So basically, if you ever see Naomi Campbell with a phone, or a walkie-talkie, or a BlackBerry, or like, I don't know, a telegram, you gotta be on guard because she's coming for you. Like she attacks with that stuff. All jokes aside though, between 1998 and 2010, 8 employees have accused the supermodel of getting physical with them, and I don't think we should just let that off lightly at all. Not cool.